Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the latest in our series of lockdown webcasts that we're bringing you from Travel Weekly to keep you all connected while we're going through this COVID-19 pandemic. I'm delighted today to be joined by the Commercial Director of easyJet Holidays, Alex Loftus. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Lucy.
And Derek Jones is back with us. It's been about 7 weeks since we spoke to Derek on here. It was very raw at the time, Derek, and we've moved on a little bit further since then, but thank you very much for coming on again. I guess first things first, I'd like to sort of just touch on where we are with the whole refund credit note, rebooking issue. Let's start with you, Alex, because we haven't spoken to you before. What's been your policy on refunds?
Yeah, so to cover easyJet Holidays refund policy and amendment policy, we obviously, under the circumstances, we try to be as flexible as possible for our customers. So we've kind of got 4 options at the moment. Clearly, customers can transfer their holiday free of charge to a future holiday in winter or to next summer. You may be aware we've launched our summer programme for next year much earlier than we did last year. They can have a credit on account. So if the customer's still not sure where they'd like to travel, they can simply get a refund from their current holiday and put a credit on account, and that will be available for a holiday in the future. If customers cannot travel, we will be contacting them and offering them a full refund. And at the moment, we are refunding with an average of 14 days, which is good news for our customers. And we're working very hard to do that. And finally, what we've just launched is if customers choose actually not to pay their full balance because they're unsure about whether their holiday will go ahead, they can keep their deposit and we will put that on their account, and they can use their deposit towards a future holiday either next winter or next summer. So there's kind of 4 options to give the customer as much flexibility as they might need.
And just on the rebooking, what's your sort of average rate of rebookings? Have you managed to get quite a few people to rebook?
Yeah, it's actually been encouraging. I mean, I think, particularly people who've booked a special holiday for this summer, they're keen to go ahead with their family, and simply often changing for similar dates, the same hotel for next year. So we've actually been really encouraged, not only by people rebooking from this summer to next summer, but also people looking for new holidays as well.
Yeah, pretty tough for you because you haven't really launched that long ago, and I guess some people might say, well, you haven't got the volumes of some of the big or some of your competitors, I guess. But I guess it's still been a challenging time for you.
Yeah, exactly. And we want to obviously do our best for our customers who've booked. We launched, as you know, back in November. We've had a very encouraging start. People have liked our new proposition. So we were very much looking forward to taking people on holiday this summer, and hopefully we will do it at some stage. But if not, very much in the future.
Okay, well we'll come on to sort of when you think things might restart in a minute. But let's just bring Derek in. Obviously, Kuoni was hailed as doing really good things in terms of refunds right from the start. But how has it gone on, Derek? Because obviously we've had the government as well, members of the government saying, oh well, there's going to be no summer. It's a risk to book holidays. So have you then seen more cancellations? Has it sort of accelerated people then saying, oh, actually, I don't really want these credit notes anymore. I'd rather just have my money back now?
To an extent, yeah. I mean, every time there's some negative publicity or a government minister takes it upon himself to make a judgment about whether a holiday is lavish or whether it's something that people actually simply want to go off and enjoy as they do every year. But as soon as that happens, we do get a flurry of calls. It tends to be quite short-lived, actually. So we tend to get a sort of immediate uplift. We get more concerned customers, and then it sort of dies back to the levels that it was previously. But we've been pretty much consistent all the way through. So we've been proactively outbound contacting customers that are travelling within 4 weeks. But we've also increasingly been building up the team that are dealing with people that are travelling outside of that, who are proactively contacting us. And to some extent, we've started proactively contacting them as well. And the reason for that is because the further forward we speak to a customer, the more likely they are to rebook with us. And there's almost a direct correlation, is that the quicker you get into a customer, the longer before they're due to depart, the more likely they are to return. So our worst rebook rate is on the people who we end up waiting to talk to within 3 weeks, where we only manage about 30% rebook on those customers. Just caught an update before this call. So for July and August, we're currently on an 82% rebook rate. So
Wow.
customers that we're talking to in advance, having a sensible conversation with, as Alex has just said, if it's a special occasion, a lot of our bookings are anniversaries, special birthdays, even honeymoons. People are very happy to want to come out of this crisis with a holiday booking in front of them. And you know, for people who are going in August, September, we're only holding a deposit, similar to what you just said, Alex. On a deposit, you're effectively carrying it forward, whether with a booking or without a booking. You're effectively just carrying that forward.
So you haven't changed balance due dates or done anything in that regard?
Yeah, on balance due dates, we've been completely flexible. So anyone who's arriving at a balance due date now, we're not exposed to an airline cost. So if we've not ticketed and we're not in for hotel accommodation, we're simply pushing that to 4 weeks before departure. So we're just allowing the customer to roll that forward. Actually, what we're mostly doing is persuading them to rebook at that time rather than to wait, because if they roll it forward, then they get into that 4 week point, then it's much closer to departure and they generally want their money back at that point. So it's in our interest to encourage people to have those conversations with us so that we can more proactively deal with them going forward. And we've had a great response. I mean, we have genuinely had a really positive response from our customers. I think they value what we're doing. The only thing we haven't done is we've not taken advantage of the refund credit note scheme. We felt that was a little bit just kicking the problem forward. And actually our concern was that we would end up simply refunding off the credit notes later, because that's the way they were being positioned. Whereas our own credits, most people are coming back into market and rebooking with us.
Okay, all right. Alex, I mean, there have been calls, certainly on our website, people have been mentioning whether easyJet Holidays is going to launch to the trade any sooner in the midst of all this, you know, perhaps to offer more competition, give an alternative to TUI, etc. So is that something that you might consider? You know, has COVID-19 made us sort of having a significant third party network seem more important at all?
Absolutely. As you know, we've always had plans to work with the trade. We're very much still talking to future partners, and we if we can you know, accelerate it all after this, then we will do. We see a great opportunity. We've got some very well-known hotels, a great brand, and we're really looking forward to working for the trade with the trade as soon as possible, and discussions are very much continuing on that.
So you would consider doing it sooner in light of what the situation we've been in? I mean, I say that because, you know, both Jet2 and I think Kuoni have said that agents have been very helpful in explaining the process. You know, it's like another person to go to their customer who can explain the process
Absolutely.
of refunds, and it's been actually been, you know, agents have been hailed as being very useful in the process. So is that something that, you know, you see?
Absolutely, we see agents could be very, very helpful. But I would say that what we would like to do is wait until the market starts to actually pick up again, and we're clearer in terms of what countries are open and what countries aren't open, and then we would be working with the trade as soon as we can. So it's very much when the market returns that we're looking at, and our discussions continue. So that's why the timescales are a bit more uncertain, because we don't know how things are going to evolve. But it's very, very much on our roadmap. We're really looking forward to it.
Good. All right. Well, let's talk about when the market returns. And what did you make of the announcement then about the 14-day quarantine? I mean, we still don't know exactly when it's going to start, and we don't know how long it will last. We had some lawyers on here yesterday who were suggesting we might get some more clarity today, but are you any more in the know than I am?
No, I mean, it has been confusing. You know, when the initial announcement was made, it wasn't clear whether it was all countries. Then it was potentially that France was, you know, it was people coming back from the UK into the UK, that it was okay for France. So we do need a lot more clarity in terms of which countries are not, when people return back to the UK, people don't have to quarantine. And equally, we need a lot more clarity from European countries in terms of what the policies are going to be there, because it makes it much more difficult to plan for our customers and for future holidays until we understand that, and how that links in with FCO advice, how that links in with what's going on in the countries with hotels being open. So we still require a lot more clarity for our customers, and to be able to put plans in place for the future.
Presumably Spain's announcement of their own quarantine is a bit of a blow for you guys as well, Alex.
I mean, we're very much working with the local authorities, the tourist boards, the hoteliers, because things are evolving. And obviously, you know, the situation worldwide evolves. So until we really have a firm plan of which regions it's going to affect, you know, we won't make any quick decisions.
And what about you, Derek? I mean, presumably it just makes, as Alex says, just makes planning for any real restart so difficult, because it will affect demand, won't it, if people know they've got to come back and quarantine?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've reached the position quite some time ago now where we've taken a fairly pessimistic view of a restart any point earlier this summer. So certainly we've been thinking in our conversations with our DMCs globally, we've been tracking their view on when they're likely to be open to accept visitors from other countries, and you might be surprised at how far out some of those countries are talking. I mean, a lot of long-haul destinations are genuinely talking about even as far as February next year before they think they're going to be accepting new arrivals. A majority are probably landing around about September, October time. So for us, I think we've been reasonably cautious in our assumptions, and we've assumed that our departures are going to start further out. I mean, I have to say we're not, luckily, in the position where that sort of July, August departure window is as critical to us. So we've been able to forecast quite accurately what the impact of that would be. And we've got a solid view. So from our point of view, anything better than that is upside.
Yeah, a bit of icing on the cake.
Yeah, no, we'll just work towards that position. But nevertheless, I mean, we watch the same news announcements as everybody else. And my frustration is, you know, there's a 5 p.m. briefing every day, and we've been going for 7 weeks, and we haven't had the travel one. You know, we haven't had the one where they come on and they coherently and sensibly explain to the public what the official view is in terms of overseas travel. And it's not as if the annual holiday is an irrelevance. It's not as if people aren't thinking about it. And the longer this goes on, I think the more people are beginning to think about when's the next holiday, when can we get away, you know, when can we go back to enjoying family time and going away with the grandparents, doing the multi-generational stuff. All of those things are really important to people.
Well, I mean, you say, I know there's been no official announcement, but Grant Shapps, who is the Transport Minister, he basically said it's a risk to book this summer.
Well, it's Hancock and Shapps. It's like a comedy duo now, isn't it? It's Hancock delivers the opener, and then Shapps does the punchline.
Yeah.
But it is really, I mean, the annoying thing is I understand completely that they are, you know, they are subject to the whims of this virus the same as everybody else, and it is difficult. And I understand the challenges they've got, but I just think a little bit of thought and sharing with the public about where their strategy is and what they're thinking. This is sort of death by 1,000 cuts at the moment. I think we'd all prefer to have a clearer insight into government thinking and a more honest public view that they share with us.
And you say, you know, it's not, you know, a small consideration your summer holiday, but do you think the government just doesn't view outbound holidays where money is going out of the country, I guess? Do you just think they just don't think it's important?
I think they've deprioritised it. I can understand to an extent why they've deprioritised it, but I think there's 2 elements, aren't there? There's the huge economic benefit that the travel industry, the outbound travel industry, brings to the country. There's huge numbers of people employed in the sector, so they should be concerned about the impact on the travel sector. And I do think to some extent, as the longer this goes on, the more they're in danger of misreading the mood. Because I think to begin with, it was fully understandable that holidays were not on the agenda. There was a serious crisis they needed to deal with. It would have seemed flippant to be talking about overseas holidays. But as it moves forward, and people start to, you know, queue at garden centres and start to even just be able to drive anywhere in the UK for exercise, that's a beginning of a release, and it's going to make people start to think about, well, when's the next release? You know, when is that extended? And finally, when can we start to travel overseas again. So
Yeah.
I think I have friends and neighbours that I talk to. I think people just want some clarity. The
Yeah.
one question I get asked by people I know more than anything else is when will we be able to go on holiday again? That's what they want the travel industry to tell
which
them.
is good that the demand then is there, but of course without any clarity it's not much use. Alex, just quickly on when you think things will restart. We did a story where Johan was pretty cautious, actually. He was talking about a very much a gradual, slow return to flying. But then you had Ryanair saying, well, we'll just put on nearly almost half our flights from July the 1st onwards. So where are you with your sort of prediction?
I mean, as an airline, we obviously reviewing a number of different scenarios. And I think, as Johan says, we are being cautious in our approach. And we will obviously, when we think the time's right, and when the things we've been talking about are clearer, we'll be able to announce when we'll be restarting. But we're still very much evaluating it at the moment. The airline obviously is more immediate for this summer. Holidays, we're seeing very much interest further out in the summer and for next year. So that's our focus at the moment.
Okay, so you're putting on your 2021 program so much earlier than usual. That's because you really are now pinning more of your hopes, I guess, on next year.
Exactly, from winter and into summer, but where we're seeing that very much the interest in searches is towards summer next year. So and I can get into a little bit more detail about where we're seeing the trends, if it would help.
Yeah, we will do that. Just before we get onto that, I just want to talk about pricing, because a number of people have said that they're predicting that actually some people may well get priced out of travel because it's, of all the new things we're going to have to put in, and we'll talk about that, but all the new protocols and procedures, it's going to be costly for travel organisers, and so that it may actually sort of be the end of the summer holiday, albeit there may be some really good deals just initially to get people back on planes. But what's your view on that, Alex? Because presumably, you've got a model where you want to offer really good value holidays to the Mediterranean and short hauls. So what's your view?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're working with the authorities according to the guidelines that we need to operate as an airline. As you've said, Lucy, at the moment, hoteliers are actually offering us unprecedented offers for next year, which is obviously a huge benefit to the consumer. And we will look, at what we need to do going forward. But from a holidays point of view, obviously we've got access to a huge amount of seats on our airline as easyJet. So I think there will still be a huge amount of choice and flexibility for the customer. And we'll wait to see, what other guidelines need to come in place. But I think, like all of us, we're keen still to offer, very much in line with our brand values and great value holidays, and we'll work very hard to do that.
I mean, it was Johan who suggested taking out the middle seat, so which would presumably really change your model. The model of the low-cost flying is, obviously high load factors, quick turnarounds. So taking out every middle seat would be costly, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I think we're again waiting for the guidance and working with the various authorities to see what would be possible, and we certainly haven't made any firm decisions on how we're going to operate at the moment. So but yes, we just have to wait and see, but we will still have a big focus on in line with our brand values in cost and value. I mean, that's what easyJet and easyJet Holidays is all about.
Okay, good to hear. What about you, Derek? Are you getting great deals from hotels in all your long haul destinations? Or what do you think will happen with pricing?
Yeah, I think you have to sort of look at this in time periods. So I think there's a sort of short, medium period where coronavirus is still prevalent to some extent. There is a short-term scenario where we're moving back into the travel sphere whilst also coping with coronavirus and minimising the spread of coronavirus. Hopefully there's a period beyond that where that's no longer the case, where coronavirus is controlled and we can sort of get back to some normality. I think in the short term, any any sort of increased operating costs are likely to be offset by the willingness of hoteliers to want to fill their properties and put the rates in place. Everyone's going to be trying to get that sort of market back. So I think in the short term, I don't think that there's going to be an escalation of price. If anything, I think you might see some really good offers in the marketplace right through to the middle of next year at least. I think long term is a little bit more complicated, particularly in the scheduled arena, because I think we will see inevitably capacity constrained over the next maybe 2-3 years, which inevitably is going to mean the prices will eventually start to move upwards as they yield off lower capacities. But my hope is actually that at a destination side, the hoteliers, the properties will continue to want to make sure that they're taking their slice of that. So you might find that the price mix will shift more towards the means of getting there will be more expensive, but actually the land prices once you're there will be slightly lower. So I don't in neither of those scenarios do I see a sort of significant. I don't see a sort of fundamental shift in the position of holidays in terms of value. I think it will level back to something similar to the position we're in today.
Okay, well let's talk a little bit now. We're talking about destinations a little bit, and it'd be good to know what you're seeing. You're saying that some people are booking already for 2021, which is fantastic news. Some people have predicted that anywhere remote and private and far away from everybody else, they're going to be the most popular places, which might play into your program quite well, Derek, I would think. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. So the three areas that we're seeing the most sales from, firstly is Indian Ocean, particularly Maldives, where the islands are secluded. I think people's impression of them is that they're in an overwater villa, they're on their own, and they're on an island that they're separated again. So it's a sort of double degree of separation from any potential risk, and plenty of space on the islands, plenty of room to move about without sort of worrying about social interaction at less than 2 meters. So Maldives is selling well. Of course, that's our top destination anyway, and it's sort of what we're famous for. And there's a lot of honeymoons that are rebooking that, but it does make up about 70% of all of our new bookings that we're taking into the future.
Gosh, and what would it normally be? That's incredible, 70%.
It would normally, Indian Ocean in total would be just short of 50%. So it is a bigger proportion of bookings that are coming through. The other two, interestingly, are CV Villas, which is part of our portfolio. We sell that through our stores as well. Has actually sold really well, and particularly the isolated villas, the ones that are off the beaten track. So, and it is perfect. So that idea that you can, just go away, you can drive straight to your villa. I mean, that sort of holiday we do as a family a lot, and then quite inadvertently we socially isolate for a week as a family, because that's just what we do. It's our downtime. We're just on our own. Apart from going to the supermarket for the bimbo bread, we don't really do a great deal else outside of the villa. So I think villa holidays are a really good opportunity. And finally, and interestingly, safaris are selling really well for us. So I don't know, I guess there is an element of tented camps and you're out in the savannah and you're going off and doing small private touring. Again, there is an element of sort of social isolation about that. So the three that we are seeing come through all sort of tied back into that need for isolation and remoteness and the ability to not interact so much. So there's definitely an early pattern coming through.
Okay, so that's the long haul trends. What about short haul, where I imagine it's not quite the villas over water that Derek's talking about?
Well, it's interesting thinking about what Derek was saying about the Maldives, because what we're finding popular is Croatia. And if you think of Croatia, there's lots of little islands to visit. You can take boats out to different places. There's lots of secluded beaches, some great views, sunsets. And I think that is a destination that's actually taking us, by surprise very much for summer 21. And I think that very much is people wanting to escape and see something different and explore a bit of kind of local life, some of the fish restaurants they've got out there. So we've got some great hotels in Savtat. There's a little village outside Dubrovnik, as you'll know, and that's doing really well. So I think we see a similar theme. The other area we're seeing is beachfront hotels. So the Algarve, we've got a hotel that is literally on 8 kilometers of sand, and big family hotel, lots of space, and people very much wanting that. So all-inclusive is still popular, but it tends to be the bigger family resorts with lots of space, lots of facilities, and I say close to the beachfront. And what if we think about different board bases, what we're seeing is more people booking apartments and a slightly larger party size. So I think that comes back to your point earlier, Lucy, of people thinking about, well, they haven't seen their family for 7-8 weeks and thinking, well, let's all go on holiday in a larger group and starting to book some of our larger apartments. So we're seeing that a lot as well. So
and will it change how you the product that you have in your programs? Will it, do you think going forward you'll then get more apartments so you can sell more things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think one opportunity we've had over the last few weeks is we're still a new business, is to very much engage with our customers, understand what they like about our portfolio, what they'd like to see more of, what's changing for the future. And I think apartments and self-catering areas that are more undiscovered will definitely be coming more into our portfolios, because I think people are very much looking for that as well. So yes, we'll be adapting to the trends we're seeing.
And can either of you give us a sense of who is booking? I mean, and obviously, Derek, in your case, I'm sure you've got lots of these honeymooners who haven't been able to travel this year. But in terms of the new bookings, like who is confident enough to book? Is there a trend at all, or is it everyone?
Yeah, from our point of view, it's families looking at securing. It's kind of the peak season time, so May half term has been popular, Easter's popular, now it's going into July and August, and I think that is on the back of some incredible deals. So people are thinking, well, book that school holiday time at a price which is extremely competitive. But interestingly enough, cities as well. We're seeing a slightly younger customer book. We're seeing, destinations such as Amsterdam, Krakow still doing well. So we're kind of seeing the families booking for next summer, for the holiday they may not have gone this summer. Yeah. And we're seeing a return to demand to some city breaks in the winter.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. Lots of people have said people will never go on a city break because obviously you're normally on public transport, you're going around museums or places of interest, which are obviously very hard to socially distance. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, and as I say, it's the kind of younger customer who's more flexible and taking advantage of that.
And have you got as well demand for just general sort of fly and flop Spain? Because there's some people who say, look, I just want to get away, and they won't be worried. And we're all concerned, aren't we, that people are going to be very nervous, but there will be a section of the population that just wants to get away.
Yeah, so Turkey remains extremely popular for us, and Spain as well. Mallorca remains extremely popular. So as well as people looking to escape and try something different, we've also got customers who may be booking the same hotel that they know really well, the same destination that they've gone to. So the kind of as I say, hotels that are familiar to them and they know well, and rebooking that. So we definitely are seeing that as well.
Okay.
Another interesting one is the Northern Lights. Actually, when we first launched winter, we saw quite a maybe once in a lifetime experience of people wanting to book Iceland and go and see the Northern Lights. So that was an interesting
Do you think, I suppose, people perhaps have had time to contemplate that? They've been locked away and they just really want to tick off some of these fantastic, places.
Yeah, I think so. Back to what Derek was saying, that kind of once in a lifetime special celebration. So, we're seeing a little bit more of the unique holidays being booked as well. So,
what about you, Derek? Any sort of trends that are sticking out, or things that are different in terms of who is booking or when they're booking?
I mean, the one thing I'd add is I mentioned it very briefly before, is multi-generational bookings. So we're it's not huge numbers, but we are seeing, of the new bookings that we're taking in, more than you would expect are sort of 3-generation bookings. And I do wonder, in fact, we have had some direct conversations with customers. That is people who have been isolated from grandchildren. who are the more adventurous sort of, you know, sod it, when this is all done, we're having the big family holiday, we're going away with the grandkids, we want to rebond, we want to reconnect and spend some quality time together. So, and I think that's not just a long haul opportunity. I think there'll be a big opportunity. I'm very confident that at the earliest point that people feel they can be confident about international travel, they will come back into the market in healthy numbers. There will be pent-up demand, and people are becoming more desperate to get away. And if they can combine that with a reconnection and combine that with fixing some of the other challenges that they've had during lockdown, then it's a perfect way of ticking two boxes at the same time.
And how much are you having to reassure people before they book, you know, in terms, you know, I guess you don't really know, as Alex was saying earlier, you're still waiting for guidance, but it's not just airlines, is it? It's in destination as well, in hotels, you know, I mean, there's an argument, isn't there, that it's very difficult to have a socially distanced holiday, like on a beach, around a pool, or in a restaurant. So how is that working out, and how much are you having to sort of reassure people that new measures will be brought in to ensure that?
It's not. That's not particularly been a challenge for us, partly because we're booking so far forward. We're booking very few customers departing before the end of this year. A handful over Christmas, New Year, again for special occasions, but mostly we're booking into summer next year or spring next year. So I think the sort of working assumption on most of our new bookers is that most of this will be behind us by that point. I mean, they may be right, they may be wrong, but I think that's where brand comes into play. And I think, you know, the reputation that you build as a business that's prepared to be flexible, to be prepared to work with customers, to make changes in the future, that sort of takes that fear away. So to some extent, it becomes less of an issue if you know that the brand that you're booking with, if those circumstances still prevail, or travel's not possible, or the experience is detrimentally affected to such an extent that they no longer want to do it, then we'll make provision for them to move that booking forward again, or we'll cancel later on. So I think we are, you know, we're not a mass market tour operator. We're operating a very different model at the moment, and we're having very in-depth conversations with all the customers that are booking. So I think there's a large dose of reassurance involved in every booking. And
of course, from today, Derek, you're having virtual appointments with these customers. You're launching something today, aren't you, that's new? Yeah, so we're launching officially our video appointment service. So we've actually been doing video appointments, and I know a lot of travel agents and smaller tour operators have been doing it as well. So we're not claiming it as a first, but we are launching it effectively as a distribution channel. So I'm sure you're aware, on our website, it's all about what we call click and connect, which historically was find a travel expert that's been to where you want to go to, and then book an appointment in store with that travel expert. We've effectively replicated that from today on our website, so you can still follow the same process, but the difference now is that you'll be booking a Zoom appointment, and we will have an expert at the other end of the phone. We can share screen, we can show maps, we can display itineraries, and for us, it's all about getting back into that human connection piece, and they're our brand values. That's what we do. That's what we do best. That's what customers know us for. And we've got lots of loyal customers. I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if, to begin with, there's just quite a lot of social interaction on it. I think we've got quite a lot of customers that would just quite enjoy having a chat with their travel expert, whether they book or not. And that's fine. If they're in lockdown and they want to talk to us, then I'm sure that'll translate into some business in the future. But no, I think there's been a real sea change. I think we'd looked at video appointments previously, and we tested the waters with customers. And even within the last year, there was very little appetite from our customers to want to interact with us this way. It's incredible how much that perception has changed. You know, we've done a litmus test again now, and we've got customers who are very happy to interact with us this way. You know, I think a lot of our demographic are grandparents, and they've been Zooming their family and Zooming their children. I think a whole new world has opened up in front of them, and now they're beginning to think, well, maybe we can use that. You know, maybe we can use that in other ways. So it'll be really interesting. We've had a great response, a really good response. As I said, we've already actually done a few, and the response from customers has been fantastic. And you've made bookings, have you, already via Zoom? Yeah, so I'm really excited about it. I think it'll be really. You might never have to go back to the office again, Derek. Yeah, I'm not sure that's where anyone really wants it to go. But again, for busy professional people, for multi-generational, you know, quite often grandparents don't live
near the children.
Yeah, and they can all come on and have the appointment together.
They don't all have to find a day to go into town together.
Yeah.
They can just do it on the screen together. It's good for them to connect.
Yeah.
And good to have an excuse to talk about travel as well when they're talking.
Absolutely. And what about you, Alex? Do you think that this new technology might feature in the way easyJet holidays are booked?
Well, I think that's where, as we're looking forward to working with the trade. Any innovations that come through the trade will obviously we will benefit from that. But also, one thing that we did do this year is launch our brand new website. We've got a huge amount in the pipeline on the website, which will make it very easy for our customers to interact with us. So not only through digitally, but also as we work with the trade, I think we can benefit from lots of different innovations. So something we're quite excited about.
Okay, all right. I'm conscious of time, but we've talked a lot about everything that you've been doing for your customers, rightly so. But we haven't really talked about your teams. And another announcement that came out this week, of course, was the extension of the furlough scheme. I mean, obviously, Derek, we've talked about furlough before because you initially made people redundant, then you brought them back and put them all back, I think, and then furloughed some of them. So what does the extension to October mean for you? Although we still don't have the exact details, do we, for August and September, I know.
Yeah, so I think that's the key. So I think for July, it's great news. It means that we can extend out the furlough scheme, which we do absolutely still need to do, and we can maintain those employment contracts with all of those people. And we've done a really good job of keeping in contact with our furlough team. So we do still very much feel like we're one team working together. So to that extent, furlough has been, it's been a real benefit to the organisation. It really has got us through what would have been a very difficult period. On the second part, from August onwards, we are sort of in wait and see mode at the moment. It could be very beneficial. It could be the opposite. It could make life quite difficult. But until we understand the exact details of what the government are proposing, it's quite difficult to sort of take a definitive view on it. So I think we're just in wait and see mode. And actually, I think the lesson from the first round of furlough was it's wise for businesses to not jump in. I think it is wise to wait a week or two, because what the government tends to do is make the big announcement.
Yes.
And I think the civil servants, HMRC in the background, then work through the detail and the policy and the process. And then they communicate that actually very well, but they communicate that in dribs and drabs through the following week. So at the moment, we've not heard anything more yet. I think we'll start to get more information from the start of next week, and then probably this time next week after maybe, I think we'll have a clearer view, and then we can start to make some decisions on the back of that.
Okay, and has the furlough scheme been something that you've taken advantage of at easyJet holidays? I mean, I don't actually know how many people are working for you at the moment, because I know you are a startup, but presumably you've got quite a few people there now.
Yeah, I mean, we're a team less than less than 100 at the moment. So, but we have taken advantage of the furlough scheme and asked people to volunteer for April and May. And we've also just asked people to volunteer for June. So, it has been helpful from the government. As Derek was saying, we're also doing our best to keep in touch regularly with those on furlough, so they're up to date with the business, give them various opportunities to do online training and things like that. So we want to ensure people also have to think about the human side of everything, and ensure that people are okay on furlough, and equally the people who are working as well. So we've seen it beneficial, and we will extend it out to June, and then we will review depending on our restart plans from July onwards.
Yeah, difficult. It's difficult to know what you can do, and you've got to balance it with what income is coming in. And as we said, we've got to wait to see what we might be required to pay ourselves, and what the government will continue to contribute. All right. Well, listen, we're probably at the end of our time. It's been fascinating. It's been fantastic to have you both on. We wish you the best of luck, and we hope you get restarted as soon as possible, obviously. But for now, thank you very much to Alex from easyJet Holidays, and to Derek from Touristik, obviously Kwoni. So thank you very much, both of you.
Thanks, Lucy.
Excellent. Thanks, Lucy. Thanks, Derek.